Look at what my hair is doing. I washed it today, yet it's still filled with so many natural oils, or just natural oil, or the natural oil of my scalp, however you want to phrase it, that, sorry for the extreme close-up, that it's standing up. I used to have long, luxurious hair, and then one day I decided to cut it off, and it's never grown back, right? I've tried all the tips and tricks. I've tried shaving my head, completely like bicking it, uh, you know, Michael Stipe, Billy Corgan style, and just never did it, And they say baldness skips a generation on the mom's side, and my grandpa, who is still alive, he does have this crazy extended Bela Lugosi's widow's peak, and so being young and male and vain, um, I hate my hair right now, and there's nothing I can do with it. But like I said yesterday in that vlog, um, I will be eventually getting a haircut that I'll be proud of and I can show on here. So I guess I coined the name of this this YouTube video series yesterday, which is "It Is What It Is," and raw, unfiltered, uncut, no bullshit, right? Because that's what people hate. People hate a lack of realness, which I guess, everything about, not to get all like angst-ridden teenager for a second, but everything about the version of the world we live in is kind of fake. It is artifice, which is a fancy way of saying artificial. It's just a noun form. Um, So I was driving around today, teaching equals driving. You drive from one campus to another, and it's not that far. I know some teachers who commute from like LA to San Diego like 3 or 4 days a week, and so my commute is not that bad. Kind of like what's going on with the reflection on my glasses. It makes me seem extra futuristic. Some next generation Star Trek kind of stuff going on. Geordi. Um, LeVar Burton is awesome. But anyway, like I commute, That's what I do. Sometimes as close as like 5 miles away from miles, and sometimes more like 15 to 20, and it just depends on the campus, and that's not counting like you know field tripping and stuff like that too. It's good for taxes. Lets you write off your gas. But as I was driving, I tend to think a lot, and my radio is busted right now, so that means even more thinking or driving with my headphones in illegally, which I'm pretty sure is illegal in the state of California. Do not use this as entrapment, law enforcement, you know. But and I love audiobooks, and I've been listening to a couple. Like I finished one, I started another, and I'm almost done with that one. But I got to the point where I couldn't listen to it anymore. I had to either listen to music on my iPod or not listen to anything at all. And I have had the worst sinus headache in the world since about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And it's almost 8:30 Pacific Standard Time right now. Sorry, I did one of those inverted burps, so it sounded like I was slurring my words. It was because I burped but did not let it out. It was not on purpose. If it was up to me, I would have burped right on camera. But see, I get lost on these tangential thoughts. But basically, what I'm getting to is I was thinking about things, and I was thinking about how cruel kids can be, um, and how cruel comedy is. Like when you really come down to it, a lot of comedy is talking smack about other people, and a lot of what we find funny in the media is that, or pointing out somebody's faults or foibles, like their negative qualities or their bad habits, things like that. And it's a harsh reality, you know. But I think it's sometimes so we don't have to look at ourselves and think about how shitty we are as people. We'd rather focus in on the Lindsay Lohans of the world. Not saying that we should give her any rest, but the girl's got problems. She needs to get her shit together. That's just the God honest truth or whatever. But and I was trying to root back, trace the lineage back of when this started for me, and I think it just goes back to really stupid jokes that kids love to tell, like dead baby jokes, right? Or baby in a blender jokes. I was never really great at remembering those, but dead baby jokes are pretty easy to remember, because they all have, like the same punchline, or I mean, they all have the same premise. But I'm going to give you the two I remember the most, and then kind of we'll go from there. So the first one is, what do you get when you throw a dead baby down a stairwell? A hard-on. I'm waiting for the laugh. I don't know if my delivery was any good. Here's the other one, but that's pretty terrible, right? And then the other one is, what's the difference between a pile of dead babies and a Cadillac? I don't have a Cadillac in my garage. Okay, so pretty bad, yeah. Um, and there's no empathy there because these are fictional dead babies, and there's like this disconnect where we stop thinking about, babies, because a real pile of dead babies, anyone who tells a dead baby joke would be on the floor crying. And if they weren't sobbing their guts out, we would automatically know that they're the psychopath in the room, that we should stone them, not with weed, but with actual rocks, with actual stones. And that might be a better test, a better barometer. But we laugh at the misfortunes of others. You know, what is America's funniest home videos but laughing at people falling down, people hitting their heads, most importantly, getting hit in the crotch. I mean, any guy who's been kicked in the balls will tell you it's it's just this instantaneous feeling of simultaneously wanting to vomit and die while being curled up in the fetal position. It's just a terrible feeling. I'm sure it doesn't stack up anywhere towards cramps or giving birth. I'm not saying that, but as far as guys go, as far as pain you can inflict on a man who's not a castrati, it's pretty damn bad. I gingerly, accidentally tapped my balls in the shower yesterday, and it just a little bit, like a little, and it was enough where I had to like hold the wall and hope to God that I didn't fall over and break my head open on the tile. But the other jokes that were really bad, that I just sort of liked a lot, and maybe it was just the context of the time, but I think I was in junior high or high school. I was introduced to Helen Keller jokes. If you don't know who Helen Keller was, well, she was a very interesting woman. And as an adult, and as an educated person, I can say she made some really great contributions to the world we live in, as far as progress when it comes to people with certain types of ailments or disabilities or whatever euphemism you want to use, special needs cases. And she's mostly known because of the work her governess, Annie Sullivan, did. She basically was this little terror who was blind and deaf and could never be taught how to communicate verbally because she was just a ball of rage. Because imagine not being able to see or to hear, living in like 100 years ago or 150 years ago when we didn't have the kind of medical advancements we have for people who are blind or deaf or the combination thereof. Kind of reminds me of that short story Johnny Got His Gun that the Metallica song One is based off of, because it's about I think a World War I vet who comes back from the field having all of his arms and legs blown off, and he can't speak and he can't hear and he can't see, and it's like in the Metallica song it says, "Hold my breath inside, wait for death, please, rescue me," which means please kill me. So no wonder you're a little girl and you're acting like a wild animal because you can't connect with anything. So now as an adult, I get it, I'm empathetic and everything else like that, but when you're between the ages of, like, let's say 12 to 17, you have no empathy, unless somebody pushes you to really think about it, to think critically about it. So some Helen Keller jokes are as basic as, how did Helen Keller's mom punish her when she was bad? She rearranged the furniture, Get it? Because she's blind and she's deaf, so she wouldn't hear the furniture being moved, and then she'd go run, and then, Dick Van Dyke style, fall over an ottoman or something. So that one's whatever. There's other ones that involve blowjobs and telephones and all this crazy stuff, and I don't even remember. And you could look it up and post it as a comment if you so choose. But probably the worst one, and it's still something that I actually kind of love, even though it's really terrible, which is, have you ever heard the Helen Keller rendition of Yankee Doodle Dandy, which goes something like this. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in her hat and called it... It's just, you know what it is? Because you're disconnected, right? You're not thinking about Helen Keller, really. You're just thinking about that noise, and it's unexpected, which makes it a good, it's a good comedic beat, and it's a good punchline by just making a noise. And really, that noise in itself is funny. I had a variation that I came up with, which is, what is the sound of two burn victims making love? And it was literally just like... And it's terrible, and no offense to anybody who's been horribly burned. I can't even imagine what that's like, but I think, and I was watching this thing with Louis C.K. and Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock and Ricky Gervais called Talking Funny, and it was on HBO, and I was watching it illegally, I guess, on the internet, because I'm not going to ever pay for cable, and it's just stupid. But they were talking about something that is pretty contentious, which are rape jokes, and there are people who can get away with it because they add a certain level of irony to talking about rape, which it shows like clearly they're joking, and there's other people who use rape in their jokes in a very chauvinistic or misogynistic kind of way, ergo not being funny. And but I guess the thing is, what they were talking about is, you can get away with that stuff when you add the caveat that obviously, like in real life, outside of a comedy show, something like rape is really terrible. But what they also said that made sense to me is that we joke about these horrible, terrible things. I think they said this, or I thought this after, where it's one or the other, don't shoot me or sue me for plagiarism or whatever, but we joke about the most horrible things in life. Sarah Silverman jokes about the Holocaust, people crack rape jokes, we talk about scatological things like shitting and pissing, and sexual things, like what comedian doesn't like to talk about semen, really. But we talk about these things to make ourselves feel more comfortable with it, because as a society at large, a world community, that village, a global community, and Americans on a whole, we're all repressed and fucked up in all these weird ways that the only way that we can deal with it is to make light of it. The Helen Keller story is a really painful story to get through, and when I was in like 7th grade, we read The Miracle Worker, we watched the movie, we learned all this stuff about Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan, which again contextualized the joke and made the jokes make more sense, which ergo made them funnier. But at the same time, how does like a 12-year-old boy process that kind of tonnage, that emotional weight? We make stupid jokes about it. Not just 12-year-old boys, but 12-year-old girls. I mean, some of the cruelest people I ever met were 12-year-old girls. So I guess the point is that a lot of the times the cruelty isn't intentional, and oftentimes it's misplaced. Now, people are vindictive and they're assholes. Like, let's just be honest. That's part of human nature. And there were people in your childhood and your adolescence, and even now in your adulthood, if you're an adult, that made your life, or continue to make your life, a living hell, whether they mean to or not. But I think, all you can really do is laugh about it. And then just, you know, if you believe in karma or you believe in whatever religious stuff you believe in, that someday they'll get theirs. If you believe in hell, that's where they're going. If you believe that, you know, they'll end up in a lower rung of heaven, that's what you believe. If you believe that they'll come back reincarnated as a snail that's been born just to be stepped on, you know, whatever helps you sleep. The truth is all you can really do is be a better person. And part of that is by knowing when to take things seriously and when to, you know, take things to heart and when to just let it go and like water off a duck's back and all that. And I think as a society that's what we have the hardest time doing. That's probably something important. But anyway, I just thought I'd muse about that, and you could tell me what you think. If you see this, if you're somebody I know in real life who is watching this because you just like watching me talk, please feel free to comment. And if you're a complete stranger who wants to tell me I'm a fag or whatever, you know, and I don't use that word in my personal life, but if you want to leave something derogatory, you can leave that too. Probably get deleted, whatever. But I'm just going to approach this like people actually watch this, and then maybe one day, mark my words, maybe one day somebody will watch this. Oh, more. Here's a shot of my cat Toby. Look, that's a tail. See, right there. That's a tail. See, it's not just a amorphous blob. Okay, Toby. Oh, he didn't like that. He was sleeping. I'm a bastard, right? All right. Well, anyway, I gotta go. But just letting you know, it is what it is.